Ryanair. Boring weekend routine? Plan a city break in London, Paris or Berlin.
Early tonight, the very strong gusty westerly winds will continue in Ulster and will ease somewhat overnight. Lows of 0 to +3 degrees with a touch of frost. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Spurs take on Arsenal on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 this evening. This is Football Saturday. And remember, Football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. The Premier League is back. Watch every live game for the rest of the season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. We're streaming the conversation as well. Listen across the country on your radio and News Talk. Also watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Joined on the line by the former Republic of Ireland international David Meyler, and in studio by the football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. You can text us 53106. David Meyler, Manchester United 2, Manchester City 1. What did you make of that?
Fascinating game, John. Good afternoon to all three of you at the start.
Happy New Year.
I was fascinated by the tactical aspect. Certainly how Ten Hag set up United to take on City. Obviously they've been in flying form, everyone knows that, but like for him to get Fred to man mark De Bruyne, get like Eriksen to go up against Rodri and try and stop Man City controlling the game. And you could see that, you know, City struggled in the first half to kind of get any real tempo and flow. The amount of times they turned over possession was unbelievable. And then certainly then when you look at, say, second half, once City kind of got the goal, there was a little period where they dominated possession. But then, like, what United fans want from United, they want to see character, they want to see fight, they want to see, you know, that whole thing of playing for the shirt. And, you know, United then came out and, look, there'll be a lot of controversy over the first goal. I'm not a big fan of the way that ruling. I do think Rashford interferes with play. But, you know, United showed great grit and desire to get back into the game. And then, you know, Rashford caps it off, who's been in flying form. And I think overall, on the basis of, you know, the first half kind of performance, you know, United probably deserved that little, you know, something out of the game, and probably deserved a little bit more than, you know, City.
This felt, lads, like the biggest win for United for a long time, for me anyway.
Yeah, the contrast in the two games this season between them, and the contrast when City last played in Old Trafford, JD, was incredible. Like when Manchester City went ahead, the old Man United would have absolutely crumbled there. And you still kind of felt, as much as City had really upped their game in the second half, you still felt Man United had a chance, because I felt they should have been ahead at half time. I thought they were the better team in the first half. City didn't have a shot on target until the goal, which would have extended. They didn't have a shot on target against Southampton. And, you know, it took them a long time today, but there's an element of when your luck is in and when things are going your way. Like that first goal, as much as I think 100% they should give that as a goal within the letter of the law, and the fact that Rashford didn't touch the ball and he didn't interfere with the Man City defender, he didn't interfere with the goalkeeper. And if you look at Walker's position, Walker didn't give up. He kept chasing back. He saw the run of Fernandes. And then the second goal sort of come out of nothing. And Rashford to have that run, as it gone back to late 50s of consecutive goals at Old Trafford for Man United. I thought this was just... I thought this was a great result for football in many respects, because I think, you know, I'm no fan of the Man City sort of project in general, and to see them taken down a notch today, and to see the Old Trafford of old really being revived. It's been a long time, I think, since the atmosphere has come back to Old Trafford like it did. And maybe one of the biggest talking points, I don't know what Dan thought, was that Erling Haaland did absolutely nothing in the game, really. Like he'd a penalty shout that wasn't a penalty. Casemiro had a big role to play in the game again, but Haaland didn't play well at all. And you are wondering now, the game tomorrow, your beloved Spurs and Arsenal, it's going to be key in terms of the battle for the title. I think if Arsenal do win this, you are beginning to believe that they can do it. City are just showing frailties I didn't really think they had.
Yeah, I think like Manchester United, I know what you're saying, it is the biggest result in a while, and it feels that way, and maybe that's because you believe in where things are going under the manager. Like, to be fair, under Solskjaer they did have some very big wins. You know, there was some big wins that I'm sure people sat here afterwards making statements about corners being
probably
turned.
did.
And so, you know, and the nature of it is that's the nature of it. But maybe it just feels like it feels more believable now because there's a sequence behind it. I mean, Rashford's scoring
9 in a row now.
You know, Rashford's scoring record. You know, the Ronaldo situation isn't there. You know, certain talking points that might have lingered at various times, like, you know, Casemiro was there. So you tend to think, okay. Now, it's a strange one because going off the commentary on BT, it did seem like they were about to take off Casemiro just before the goal, and it seemed like they were about to make a double sub with McTominay coming on, and I can't remember what the other change floated was. It might have been Martinez coming on. Anyway, either way, it seemed like they were at the stage of the game where they were getting nowhere and they were probably going to roll the dice a bit, and then they score with the next passage of play, and the game turns on this. And I think Rashford was interfering, but Peter Walton was pretty clear under the letter of law now, that's fine. I think his presence definitely, had a factor, but you're going off the expertise.
It didn't though, because he's offside, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but like I mean, David sort of, I don't know, like David sort of is taking the ex-pro view in it that he.
Well, say if you're a defender who's looking for the ball and Rashford gets in your way, that didn't happen. Like, so Rashford effectively had no role in Manchester City not winning the ball back, and I think it's probably a progressive kind of rule in the sense that it allowed a goal here that otherwise probably wouldn't have happened.
No, I get you. No, I listen. It's not a scandal or anything like that. There's a debate around it, but the thing is, like, I don't know, Man City, and to touch on your point, I mean, yeah, Haaland reasonably ineffective, but just the fact that they just got sucker punched, like the couple of years in recent times where they haven't won the league, there's been the odd game like this where they have like a really bad 10 to 15 minutes, and they get done. I mean, I suppose you even think of the Champions League last year, they just have these periods where they just like
they go off the autopilot.
Crystal Palace game a couple of years back, where they have these
Brentford earlier this season.
Because I think if the game had stopped at 65 minutes or whatever, 70 minutes, we would have been sat here talking about, well, this is typical, Manchester United tactically very good in the first half, possibly could have been ahead, but Manchester City showed the depth of their squad.
Like the Chelsea game recently.
They got ahead.
You said this like last season again. Manchester City are very good. They're amazing when they're in control. When you're in a situation today where, as much as the game was 1-1 was not a bad result at all. When they lost the ball in possession leading up to the second goal, there was a 4-on-2 situation all of a sudden. Manchester United had 4 attacking players. City's 2 fullbacks were way up the pitch, had to get back. And that effectively resulted in a goal that should never have been given away. And I think there should be some questions asked of the way they played today. There's no way they should have lost that game from the position they were in.
David Meyler, Rashford, 8 goals in 7 games. Was it a dip of confidence for him? What was it? Because he is absolutely flying.
I think only Rashford could answer that question, JD. But certainly no, like his presence and the way he looks on the pitch, like he's walking around with his chest out. He looks confident. Like there was that big conversation, obviously, with the amount of work he did outside of football for charity and the money he raised for the kids in the schools and make sure they were fed. And there was a lot of talk, was he distracted off the field? Was he putting a lot of effort into that? Maybe he was, and now he's kind of come round and he's concentrating just on football. Now, nobody could knock him for the work he'd done, but it was almost, he had one eye off football, and now he just, like, when he picks up the ball, you look at, say, during the week against Everton, like those runs he's making, for the own goal, Cody won. And today, when he gets the ball, he looks lively, he looks a threat. Now, the big question mark has always been put on him. He does it in spurts, in seasons. Can he do it for an entire season? But at the moment, like, there's no stopping him. And like he's like, his numbers are ridiculous. Since the World Cup has been over, I think he's the top scorer in Europe, which is incredible. And United fans will be delighted with the way he's playing.
If you were to do, like, to say, like, who's the manager of the season so far, like Ten Hag,
Mikel Arteta,
you've about 3 or 4 shouts there, like how Arteta, Ten Hag, and the Fulham manager whose name escapes me, Marcus Silva. So obviously,
you can even add Thomas Frank into that equation.
Yeah, what Ten Hag has done, you have to realise how bad Rashford was playing in the last regime. Not only that, he's gotten rid of the Ronaldo equation and
that is massive,
and done it. And the Harry Maguire situation as well shouldn't be underrated.
Benched him today as well.
Benched him today. Once he took the 2 of them out of the Man United team, and I'd have to go back to reaffirm this, but I think that's when their form actually started. But even you look at the body language of Bruno Fernandes relative to what it was. Liberated, and the passion that he showed I think he deserves some credit for that first goal today, because a lot of players would have given up. He went over, like, kind of, remonstrating with the linesman. He looks reformed as well, and they look like a team that has so much physical purpose, mental purpose, and also really know what they're doing.
It is a liberation, isn't it, David Meyler, for United without Ronaldo, because it was just a cloud over the whole club.
It is, and to touch on Johnny's point there looks like there's a clear game plan. Like, that's the big thing, and all the players are buying into it. Like, even Bruno playing out of position, he's playing wide right. He won't be happy playing there, but he puts in a shift. You know, he gets his goal and stuff. Like, even his, like you talked on there, his handling of Ronaldo. Like, Bruno did a post-match interview after the game, and he said, we're now playing as a team. And it was one of those comments that's made that you kind of think, was Ronaldo a massive issue inside the change room? That, like, certainly Bruno seems to have found this lease of life. Now Rashford is, that it was a dark cloud over it, and the way Ten Hag has handled it, like, they all seem to be buying into him. Even recently when United play Wolves, like Rashford being late for a meeting, and he just drops him. Like, those kind of things, and you think of the form Rashford had been in. Like, I've been in change rooms where managers have let that slide, and you think, well, he's our main man, and people kind of go, well, we need him today, you know, if we're going to go and win the game. But for him to put the foot down and say, no, it's not acceptable, and it's the same letter of law for everyone. It's just, United are in a total different period now, because I believe they have got a very good manager who understands the club, but he's got a clear philosophy, and everybody seems to be buying into it.
Isn't that the thing, JD, that they've finally nailed it on the managerial front post-Ferguson? I think they have.
Yeah, and you think the reaction though to Ronaldo, sorry to cut across you, JD, like the reaction to the Ronaldo thing, I mean, think, you know, Roy Keane, very influential sort of figure, you know, revered by Manchester United fans, and Souness, and a lot of people thinking that Ten Hag had handled the Ronaldo situation badly, and when results were a bit middling at that time, you know, fans and people, you know, some people were maybe a little bit sort of angsty about it, and you know, sometimes managers, when they're in the spotlight, you see them react to a bit of an outcry in some way. You know, they bow to it. That's actually the first worrying sign of weakness, you know, when they sort of respond to it. But he's sort of persevered and done things his way, and now has sort of established a fair degree of authority, it would seem, from what David says. Even today, I thought, and maybe people who go to Old Trafford will say on a regular basis, will say it's always like this, but I felt even the fans really stuck with them when they were behind as well too, and that was noticeable. And clearly, if things were a little bit more strained there at the moment, that sort of things would have crept in at 1-0, but it didn't. It sort of felt like there's a collective belief there around the club that would suggest that this is not another Manchester United false dawn, of which there's been people talk about. They finally nailed it post Fergie. You know, there's been various.
They had the whirlwind romance of Solskjaer. This is real love.
There was times. I'm sure there was times under Mourinho where people said the same thing. You know, Louis van Gaal.
They were second in the league under Mourinho.
You know, so.
It wasn't a whirlwind romance, Solskjaer. It was kind of like going back to a nostalgic feeling where it was like your first love or whatever. Let's see if it can work out again in a different role, because I definitely think there was an element of, with Solskjaer, it was like yearning for the past that isn't there anymore. And I don't know, this guy he's put his stamp on it, and everything about the way they're playing at the moment. Are they title contenders now? I wouldn't say they are, but they're not a million miles off.
I sort of want Johnny to expand on this old flame analogy here.
How long do we have?
Not
you're
long.
wearing an Augusta top, GD. I mean, there's a lot going on today.
There's always a lot going on the show for anybody who's watching on the digital social channels.
Azalea's here.
There's no fake bird music coming through the speakers in the studio.
It's a while between now and 5 o'clock. So
my sister went before me, so she went last year with her husband, and I was very obviously upset about it, but she brought back the top, and after she brought back the top, I said maybe she's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully she doesn't mention it all the time.
You can only get it in Augusta. You can't get it anywhere else, obviously.
There we go.
You can probably get a couple down in Murray Street or something, I'd say, if you knew the right people.
I'm sure David Meyler has one. He's got a lot of memorabilia and stuff. So, David, Manchester City then, like Gundogan during the week was talking about a lack of hunger and them not having the recipe. Is it just one of these derby games, or is there something that they'd be a little bit worried about? If Arsenal win tomorrow, they'll be 8 points clear.
I think there is major concerns with Manchester City. Like, to go away to Southampton and not have a shot on target. And then obviously you look at the game today, it just, like, they're in control of possession, but you look at them, where's the penetration? Where are the runs in behind? Where's the creativity? Like there's a lot to be said about Fred's job on Kevin De Bruyne today. Like, okay, there was a moment, for his assist for Grealish's goal. He runs off and Rashford tries to pass him on, but it's too late. And then he obviously touches it down the end line. But you're looking for those types of players to influence games, and United nullified them. And you can knock the ball around between your centre-halves and your six all day. But unless you're causing problems, then you're not going anywhere. And today's City looked like that. They looked like they had no end product. You never felt, okay, they had flashes of moments around but they had no real clear-cut chances bar the goal. None that you kind of say, oh, like, how many saves did De Gea have to make? Like, that's the one, and that's where I think Pep has changed football ever since his kind of Barcelona days, where now we look at, dominating possession. Can we pin the team back in? And there's an awful problem that you're not seeing City create. If teams, like, you look at it, there's probably a period today at about the hour mark where United are a bit stretched. You're looking for your kind of second wind in the game, and they do get into good areas. But like, when you've got a player like Haaland, you need to be firing balls into the box like for 90 minutes. You need to be trying to get him on the end of it. We've seen that when they're at home, but it's away from home, they're not doing it. And I think Pep will be concerned because these results over the last week, they will have an effect on the rest of the season.
Do you know what's interesting as well in that, like, and David touched on a point there where Pep has kind of, I guess, been the architect of possibly the greatest sort of, style of football in our era. But Haaland was irrelevant today. Like, they didn't create chances, and they look so vulnerable on the break to a team that has real pace like Man United have. And what really intrigued me during the week was, what is Ten Hag thinking of bringing in Weghorst? What is the thought process behind that? He's obviously thinking, this could work if I need to bring a plan C to a game, that I want to bring somebody big on that the likes of Argentina obviously couldn't even handle. I thought that was a fascinating move because he's effectively a journeyman player who's been loaned out to Turkey.
Yeah, maybe that's all they can do. Because the talk during the week was on financial rules that they will have to sell and get in the Champions League to buy the players they want in the summer. It's a short-term thing.
He could play, he's completely the antithesis of the way Man City play. But Haaland, like, if that were... remember when Haaland played in the early games, was it against Liverpool in the old Charity Shield, and people were saying, it'll take time, and maybe he's not going to fit in. If that were his first game for Man City today, he'd be like,
he can be forgiven though, surely.
Oh, absolutely. But I was just amazed at how anonymous he was in the game.
Yeah. By the way, folks, listeners out there, we're on top of everything. If anything happens, we'll let you know in terms of the 3 o'clock games. Brighton, Liverpool ongoing at the moment. Evan Ferguson starting. Cody Gakpo starting. Nunes not in the Liverpool team today. Goalless as well in that game and in the other games. Everton, Southampton. Seamus Coleman in the Everton team today. Nottingham Forest against Leicester. And Wolves West Ham with Nathan Collins starting for Wolves. Joe Hodge on the bench. Brentford Bournemouth 5:30.
Yeah, Evan Ferguson up against Kanate here, which is, suppose, could have relevance in the context of...
lovely ball, here we go.
Who nearly scored there? Was that
Trent
Matoma?
badly caught out there. It was a beautiful ball.
Again. Interesting that Leandro Trossard is completely out of the loop now at Brighton.
Well, did you see that
with the manager? He went on the Eurostar, apparently.
Well, there was a statement from his agent, I think, yesterday, which was fairly remarkable stuff in terms of outlining recent correspondence or discussions between De Zerbi and Trossard and disputing versions of events that have been put out there. But the long and short of it is, it looks like he's on his way out. But like, just watching Ferguson against Kanate, which could be interesting in the context of March with Ireland playing France, and it's a possible 1v1. So
Brighton playing well here.
Brighton have been playing well. They had sort of a flurry of early chances, and Ferguson had one brilliant touch, took the ball down out of the sky, as he's just done it again now. And he's linked play once or twice, but Brighton on top, but Liverpool had 1 or 2 chances on the break that could have yielded an opener. So it's good sort of contests.
David Meyler would have to agree with this. If you look at the football that we've seen today, Evan Ferguson is essentially better than Erling Haaland. Is that not true, Dave?
Yeah, Dave Meyler hasn't even responded. And correctly so.
I am interested in his action.
You know what, Johnny?
You want a headline, Johnny?
I had the pleasure of working with Evan with the 17s a few seasons ago. He's a very exciting young player with a great eye for goal, as we've seen in the Premier League over the last few weeks. I hope he has a terrific career, and I hope he's brilliant for Ireland, but plenty of time yet to compare him to Haaland.
I'm obviously taking the proverbial, but like, what are the pitfalls for Ferguson as of now when he's starting 4 games in a row? A lot of hype about him. He's in the paper now every Saturday in Ireland. What would your concerns be in terms of even what he mightn't become as a player?
It's very difficult to kind of pinpoint one. Like, one of the good things for Evan is Evan obviously lives in the UK, so there's not going to be a whole huge talk around him around the whole UK. There will be around Brighton. Obviously, there'll be, the fans will be super excited. He won't see all the noise going on in Ireland. It'll probably be more, once the internationals come around, I imagine Stephen will have him in the squad. Then there'll be a lot of interest from Dan and the likes there who want to interview him and speak to him. But the biggest pitfalls will be that there's going to be a period, I imagine, that the manager is not going to be starting him. It's then you have to keep that hunger going just because you have a taste of it. No, it's not always going to be that way. But look, the kid's got a great attitude. He works extremely hard. He takes on information really well. He's desperate to learn. He's I only worked with him for 6 months, but in that time you could see that he was so desperate to learn and improve and get better that he just continues on in that progression. And the great example that people always talk about was Aaron Connolly, but they're two total different characters.
Yeah.
You can't compare them. Even so, it's very hard to compare, say, Evan to Adam, or even a Troy Parrott, because all four of those lads that I've mentioned, they're all unique individuals. Yes, they've come through the Ireland underage and they're starting to carve out careers for themselves, but they're all different. And the thing with Evan is he was always so eager to learn and he wanted to improve. And as long as he keeps that attitude and mentality, the world's his oyster.
What do you think it's like for 18-year-olds breaking in now, even compared to, say, when you made your debut? I know it's not that long ago, in real terms, but I'm guessing even the social media sort of thing wasn't as prevalent, in your life or anything like that. Whereas I'm guessing Evan Ferguson now, in the last week or two, it's just been flooded with stuff, and everywhere. I'm sure if he opens up his phone, opens up his Instagram or whatever it is, I think he is on social media, he'll probably have thousands of followers and requests and messages. And do you envy the lads now sort of having to deal with it, breaking through in this era, if you know what I mean? Whereas it feels like it can all happen very quickly for you.
Yeah, and we've seen with various examples of young boys in England. I'm not particularly talking about Evan and Boyer. They've got overhyped, and that can be a problem. When you look back to my debut, say 15 years ago, Facebook was starting to become massive, and I actually had an open Facebook at the time. And I remember I played a couple of games, and there was Sunderland fans giving me loads of love and appreciation. And you almost do read into it. I was young and naive, and you do look at it, and I was thinking, oh, this is great. I'm the man. I'm playing week in, week out here in the Premier League. This is great. And then I was sent off against Portsmouth. I came on, what is it, the 5th fastest red card in Premier League history or something. Not a record that I'm proud of, but my Facebook, and I'll never forget it because my dad was at the game, and after the game he said to me, well, you're going to have to deal with the slack that comes your way now. And he said, be prepared for it. And Sunderland fans are incredibly passionate. But the amount of abuse I took on that was ridiculous. And then it was a serious eye-opener for me, because I had the highs for a few weeks of doing very well. And then I had that extreme low that I actually deleted it. I went away from it. So the big thing for Evan and others is you can't read too much into it, because when it's going good, it's great. Then when it's bad, it does get extremely bad. And you look at Harry Maguire as a great example of, he's now almost become this talking meme. And for Evan, you can't read too much into it, because I eventually stripped it back to, as long as your manager's happy with your performance, that's the most important person. Nobody else matters, because the manager is the one who's picking the team week in, week out, and he's the one who's going to be playing you. And if he's happy with your performance, then don't be reading, Joe, who's living down the back alley of Cork, who's a Brighton fan, saying, well done, you're the best thing since whatever.
Okay, got to take a break. David Meyler, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward on Football Saturday here. Just to break away, Munster leading Northampton 10-0 in the Champions Cup. Leinster were 49-14 winners over Gloucester early. No scores in 3 o'clock games in the Premier League. Man United 2, Manchester City 1. We're back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, catch Newcastle versus Fulham tomorrow on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk. Talking History.
This Sunday on Talking History, we're looking at the life and legacy of Owen McNeill, the man best remembered for issuing the countermanding order in 1916, but whose career was far more significant and enduring.
I think we see him as this kind of father figure, a very serious scholar and this kind of thing, but the Owen McNeill of history and of reality is one that really didn't take himself that seriously.
Talking History with Patrick Gagan.
This Sunday at 7 p.m.
on News Talk.
Prioritise your health and well-being this new year with Harvey Norman. We have a huge range of connected health devices to help you stay motivated, manage your stress, track all your key health metrics, and reach this year's fitness goals. Add a beat to your step with the Garmin Forerunner 255 Music Smartwatch. Only $399. Or get the Apple Watch Ultra, designed for exploration, adventure, and endurance. Now $999. Harvey Norman, your connected health specialists.
Go! Some years ago, I was the victim of a serious crime. The person serving a life sentence for that crime now has an opportunity to apply for parole. But I also have an opportunity to have my voice heard by the parole board.
Victims of a serious crime. Your voice counts in the parole process. Find out more and register at gov.ie/parole board or call 01 474 8770.
At Flahavans, we don't just pack every bag of Progress Oatlets with locally sourced oats. We pack every bag full of potential. The potential to be honey-drizzled creamy porridge, cinnamon oat pancakes, or banana oat cookies. To be white chocolate berry oat bars, or savoury oat sotto. The potential to be breakfast, brunch, lunch, or dinner. The potential to be the greatest oat of all time. For recipe ideas and inspiration, visit flahavans.ie.
Flahavans, not your run-of-the-mill oats.
The Aer Lingus January sale is now on. With over 4 million seats on sale, we've got your 2023 travel sorted. From just €179 each way, as part of a return trip, you can fly to New York, LA and everywhere in between. Take that magical holiday to Orlando, plan that action-packed week away in Chicago, or explore the sights of San Francisco. Visit airlingus.com and grab your seats today. Hurry, sale ends midnight Monday. T's and C's apply. Travel 1st of February to 31st of May 2023.
New year, all new you. Sign up to Air Mobile today and get unlimited calls, texts and no limits 5G data. Plus, choose from any of the Samsung Galaxy S22 series or the S21 FE and claim a Chromebook 4 worth €339. Hurry, offer ends 24th of January. Go in store or visit air.ie. 5G coverage subject to availability. Available on selected bill pay plans. 24-month contract subject to fair usage. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
Christmas gone, another year begun. Another opportunity to do those things you've been meaning to do for so long. Maybe doing something about your hearing loss is one of those things. At Hidden Hearing, we are the hearing experts. Our expert audiologists will assess your needs and recommend what's right for you. The results can be life-changing. Book a free hearing test today. Go to hiddenhearing.ie or call 1-800-370-000. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
Taking time out to visit a healthcare professional isn't always convenient. That's why at Irish Life Health, we visit you. With My Clinic, our members get virtual access to back and neck physiotherapy, professional counselling, unlimited GP consultations and more. Search Irish Life Health. A better life with Irish Life Health. Services available where covered on your plan and clinically appropriate. Professional counselling available to age 16 plus. Back and neck physio to age 18 plus. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
Sam is an expert at splitting a bill. If you didn't order a starter, you're not paying for a starter. But he's not an expert when it comes to electric cars. Should he go for mild hybrid, full hybrid? Is he ready for fully electric? All he really knows is that he wants a plug-in one. Luckily, Nissan have been giving people help and advice on electrified vehicles since we introduced the all-electric Leaf back in 2010. So, wherever you are on your journey to electric, head to your local Nissan dealer to see which electrified vehicle suits you. Plug-in or otherwise. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Spurs take on Arsenal on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5 this evening. This is Football Saturday. Remember, football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106. Listen across the country on News Talk. Also watch us on the digital and social channels on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Delighted to have the former Republic of Ireland international David Meyler on the line with in studio, the football correspondent of the Irish Independent, Dan McDonnell, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. JD. Penalty Brighton.
Don't think it was Ferguson.
Allison in trouble there, and
I have to say Liverpool have
goalless at the moment, and Everton have scored. Everton won, Southampton 0. There was protests before the game. The directors didn't turn up for their own safety, and Onana has scored for Everton 1-0 against Southampton.
They might get off on this one, JD. I think I think there might be an offside.
Everton 1, Southampton 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Leicester 0, and Wolves goalless with West Ham. We're waiting to see if Brighton have a penalty against Liverpool in the first half.
Actually, I'm not even sure it's a penalty. I think they'll get away with this, and I think Solly Marsh may be offside, but it's been another patchy performance.
Yeah, they're checking at VAR.
I don't make that a penalty either.
In the Championship, just before we wait and see what happens there, finished Rotherham 4, Blackburn 0, Bristol City 2, Birmingham 1, Burnley 0, Coventry 0. Latest scores, these are latest scores. Cardiff 0, Wigan 0, Hull 0, Huddersfield 1. It is Luton 2, West Brom 1, Middlesbrough and Millwall are goalless. It is Preston 0, Norwich 3, Reading 1, QPR 0, Sheffield United 2, Stoke 0, Sunderland and Swansea are goalless, as are Watford and Blackpool.
Jeff Hendrick, the goal scorer for Reading, which is it's a while since he's featured in a goal scoring update for us. But
yes, we're still waiting to see if Brighton have got a penalty here against Liverpool. The decision, no penalty, so goalless between Brighton and Liverpool just before half time. Let's hear about that Everton goal coming against Southampton at Goodison Park, and this is Shane Pennington.
It's Everton 1, Southampton 0. What a huge goal this could be for Frank Lampard and his side. It came from a free kick on the right hand side. Demarai Gray delivered it into the penalty box, and there around the penalty spot was Amadou Onana. It's a thumper header beyond the goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu and into the right hand bottom corner of the net. It's Everton 1, Southampton 0.
Just had a shout out on Twitter yesterday at John Duggan Sport, which kind of caught it fire a bit. So, which phrases in football annoy you, folks? We know we all love to be annoyed by things that people say in football, whether it's managers, players, or pundits. And we got some reaction, and we'll throw it out to the listeners there in 53106. So, this is Manchester United was one of them. Damien Duff Shelburne. Early doors, the Portuguese, when referring to an individual. Coming together, double pivot, final third. It's a big ask. Asking questions, said Rob Hainsworth. Darren Burke, he'd no right to save that. Michael Lavery, when something is part and parcel of the game. Shane Beattie, of our own parish, mouth-watering tie. Kieran Fleming, give the referee a decision to make. Goat and baller, when two players are chasing after the ball, they call it a foot race. I also agree with that one. I hate that one myself. And Owen Cummins, I love this one. The cliched and strange pluralisation of players and clubs. So like your Meylers, your Wards, your McDonnells.
I agree on that one, yeah. I think a good height for a goalkeeper when a penalty is saved is definitely one that springs to mind. I mean, of course, it's a good height for him. He's just saved it. You know, it's always that's always one of the ones. Yeah, the pluralisation is one.
I wish you'd give me. Excuse me. I wish you'd give me a bit more time on this, Shitty. But my absolute pet hate, apart from the horrendously bad grammar of a lot of like commentators and co-commentators, he's got to hit the target. Your challenge is not to hit the target. Your challenge is to score. If you're trying to find the top corner with a strong strike, you're not worried about hitting the target. You're worried about scoring. And the amount of times I hear that he's got to hit the target. It's not about hitting the target. It's about scoring. There's a massive, massive difference. If you're taking a penalty and your challenge is to hit the target, you'll do that every single time. That's why you miss. It's not about hitting the target.
I'm glad I didn't give you time, actually, to be honest.
God, I've only started here, actually, now.
He's the most passionate he's been since he went on a rant about gloves one day. It's just like you never know.
Oh, yeah. Saw some of that earlier. We have some gloves here too. In fairness, it's a fairly cold day.
What, you've got an issue with gloves?
Like wearing gloves in 12-degree weather and that. Like, what's that about?
This is right, but this is more. It channels his inner Martin O'Neill, having sort of slacked off Martin O'Neill's team for a period of time.
Mainly David Meyler.
He then took up the personality by saying, players with gloves.
Not having them.
David Meyler, anything that annoys you in terms of football phrasing?
The two that spring to me would be a game of two halves, and when a player gives 110%.
Yeah, there was a fella, David. This is unbelievable because I think this is actually a Guinness Book of Records. Kerry FC signed the player during the week. I can't remember. He might be Croatian, but he's from somewhere in like Eastern Europe, whatever. But he's been playing locally. But he said he gives 150% in every game. I was like, what do you actually like grow 50% in size, or like this is because everyone gives 110%, obviously, but an extra 40 on top of that. I was like, I haven't heard of this before. I can't wait to see him play, actually.
Playing through the lines.
He was absolutely terrible. He only gave 127% today. Like, No?
Well, my one, see, I also think as well, there's a bit of a journalist version of this as well, like words that are used in newspaper stories that people never actually say in real life. Like someone says, a war of words, and I've done this myself, right? So
we've all wrote
a war of words is broken
We've all
out
wrote.
between,
It's not even grammar.
war of words is broken out between, I don't know, Roy Keane and whoever. But like in your life with anyone, have you ever said, there's a bit of an issue last night, a war of words broke out in the pub between a couple of the lads, like he launched a broadside, it'd be another one as well.
Yeah.
Like,
What even is a broadside?
Yeah, like Roy Keane last night launched a broadside. Again, the same story. You never hear someone say, Christmas party got a bit messy. Duggan launched a broadside
Well, it hasn't started yet.
Johnny
actually,
Ward,
yeah.
which
turning the
would
screw,
be deserved.
JD. Turning the screw. I mean, seriously. Like, if you want to read George Orwell, sort of 1984 and all his work, and then you might cut down on But as a journalist, actually, it's a challenge as well because we use plenty of rubbish.
But that Martin O'Neill thing recently, where he took issue with the reference to the Ulster man and the Northerner. Now, it didn't really appear in the papers in Ireland anyway. It was a bit of a strange one. But sometimes a lot of that is just avoiding repetition.
Well, in the bulletins, for example, I can't say take on 7 times in a row, so I'll say face or up against.
Sometimes the Cork
go head to head. Somebody had an
yeah.
issue with go head to head, so that was one of them. Yeah. Still goalless here, Brighton and
Evan
Liverpool.
Ferguson just had a shot on goal there. It was actually a very good move.
Hit the target, actually.
Yeah, hit the target. Yeah. They fashioned the chance for him, but he should have done better, to be honest. But he's been involved.
5-3-1-6 a hate. He's got great feet for a big lad. He's a professional footballer. I'm sure he's got very talented feet, says Rory.
Weghorst showed. Talk about great feet for a big lad. Weghorst nailed that against the Argentinians. In fairness,
probably the only thing he's doing in his life.
I mean,
at that level, pockets of space in their faces and 2 banks of 4 all have to go. Says Scarlett. Hi guys, I've seen them given. Says Jim in Dunboyne. You forgot he's a top player or professional
for me.
And lads, if you get rid of all those phrases, be watching in silence.
Well, that'd be great, actually. I mean, we don't need commentary.
I do that actually sometimes.
Yeah, we don't need commentary. If you go to a game, it's...
John, you're literally on a panel show at the moment.
I would prefer if there were no...
people not talking.
I'd prefer if there were no audio.
Get those fake birds from Augusta here. Put it on for the
Sorry,
next hour
David,
and 10 minutes.
you're going to say something there.
Well, I tweeted about it too, JD, and I got goals win games. That's an interesting one. People do use that. It's a good squad on paper. And schoolboy defending. They were a couple that appeared quite a few times.
Goals win games is definitely that's just a sentence to fill airtime. But I mean, can you get through the rest of the show without using one of those phrases at any point?
So we're all going to
a klaxon that goes off.
We're all going to soccer awards tonight, right? The 3 of us, right? So it'll be kind of an off the ball strong table in which we've already had bets on who'll make a show of ourselves. So whatever. Anyway, but the first one of the 3 of us to use a ridiculous cliche for the rest of the show has to buy the first round of drinks. How about that?
Okay.
Well, I'm not invited, Johnny.
Yeah. Well, you live in. Where do you live? Up the north of England?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well, I would have flown in just for it.
I don't think they have the money, do they?
Didn't get the invite, yeah.
Dan is actually, I'm only peripheral. Dan's been heavily involved in these events before.
I'm not involved this year.
Well, Johnny, rumour has it you wouldn't put your hand in your pocket.
That's one thing I can't be accused of. I'm reckless with money, often at my own expense.
Half times, Everton 1, Southampton 0, and goalless Brighton, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Leicester, and Wolves, West Ham. But before we go to the break, David Meyler, obviously, we know you've got a strong affinity with the Reds, Liverpool. What does Jurgen Klopp need to do to fix what has been a kind of a troubled time for them on the pitch?
Oh, JD, I don't even know how to start this because they're either very good or awful.
Consistency, then.
Yeah, but at the same time, I look at them and I've really honed in on them, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but I think Thiago's the problem.
Wow.
I think Thiago is an exceptional player. He's an incredible midfielder. You can see by the clubs he's played with, the managers he's played for, he gets picked week in, week out. But he's almost altered the way Liverpool play. Like if you look at, he's kind of slotted into that Wijnaldum role, who's full of energy on the front foot pressing. Thiago is that type that wants to get on the ball in the midfield area and dictate the play. And when he does that, Liverpool end up, the full-backs push on and they leave themselves wide open. Now, if he's on it, if you remember back to the game he played against United where he just ran the entire game. But if he's slightly off, then I think Liverpool are just wide open. They get counter-attacked. And I think that is an issue. I really do. And I think if you look at Liverpool's midfield over the last few years, they've always been dynamic, and they've had one sitting midfielder and the other two have pressed around the pitch. And they've allowed the fullbacks to get forward and be creative. And I think that's one of the biggest issues they have. And I've really looked at it, and I've questioned myself numerous times on it, because he's such an exceptional footballer. But he's a Pep Guardiola player, and I don't think Liverpool play the Pep Guardiola way.
Are there players in the team that need to up it as well as that?
Of course, like it's been well highlighted. Trent's defensive errors, even to a certain extent. Virgil's not been. I know he's injured now, but he's not been at the level he's been at. Fabinho, he's looked kind of a shell of himself for someone. Even Salah, the amount of goals he scored year in, year out. Like,
if you go through the centre, the kind of the shell, like the basically the spine of that team, there are so many issues, David. Like,
yeah, and that's always been Liverpool's core. It's the spine has always been so well documented that they're playing well. They know their roles. They're on it. Like, Jurgen always highlights the thing that whenever there's an issue, he looks at the front three. Are they pressing correctly? Are they stopping the team playing out? And at times that's not been there. Firmino was massively key to that for years. I know a lot of fans outside of the Liverpool fan base would highlight the amount of goals he scored or the assists, but anyone who watched Liverpool regularly would know the importance of him in the team. And the players loved playing with him because he led the line in terms of pressing, winning ball back, and he linked the play so well. But obviously, as time progresses, he's obviously 3-4 years older now, that he's not able to do exactly what he used to be able to do. But I think Liverpool need to kind of go back to, even the smallest things of like Alisson against Wolves, those little errors are just creeping in game after game, which didn't happen for so long. They need to start. We talk about cliches, but they need to start keeping clean sheets and build from there. They're leaking way too many goals for a team that were, so good at keeping clean sheets, that you now know when Liverpool go into a game that unfortunately they're going to concede.
What he said about Thiago, I've heard that a bit. I think Henderson's well off as well. But if you look at Liverpool and analyse it for a bit, Liverpool could be entering transition now. Like, they actually could, and I'm not sure if Klopp is going to be around.
Yeah, and also the ownership issue, I think, has got to be a bit to stabilising. We've got to take a break. Johnny Ward, Dan McDonnell in studio, and David Meyler between 4 and 5 on Football Saturday. You can text us 53106. Plenty of stuff coming in. Just to let you know, scores from the Premier League: Brighton 0, Liverpool 0, Everton 1, Southampton 0 at half time, Nottingham Forest 0, Leicester 0. Also goalless between Wolves and West Ham. Man United beat Man City 2-1 in the derby earlier today. Marcus Rashford with the winner. Half times in the Championship: Bristol City 2, Birmingham 1, Burnley 0, Coventry 0. It is Cardiff 0, Wigan 0, Hull 0, Huddersfield 1, Luton 2, West Brom 1, Middlesbrough 0, Millwall 0. It is Preston 0, Norwich 3, Reading 2, QPR 0, Sheffield United 2, Stoke 1. It is Sunderland 0, Swansea 0, Watford 0, Blackpool 0. And earlier on it finished Rotherham 4, Blackburn Rovers 0.
Jeff Hendrick has scored again.
Has he?
He scored 2.
And Munster lead Northampton 17-0 in the Champions Cup. Off the Ball Saturday and Football Saturday, back between 4 and 5 after the news. Don't go away.
Listen to News Talk on Smart Speaker. Play News Talk.
Roint blianta ó hin dolig mai curd shrumhúsach. Tá jeis ag an duine tá ag cur píon bhre sílasteach. Mariala an gcóir sin irrita sa dhéanamh farúil inis. Tá jeis agam sa freisin áfach, mo choramaí a cur an úl don bhórd parúil.
Más duine hu a dulin cur chrumhúsach, lag for tábhach sa fróseis parúil ar do thuramí. Fai tilla fósnéise agus chlárig ag gov.ie/parole board. Greener choices are the key to a sustainable future. That's why Energia offer a reduced night rate for charging electric vehicles and free home charging points for new EV owners, all of it powered by 100% green electricity. Because the choices we all make today will change how we live tomorrow. EAB €1,588, 13.75 cent night rate. Free charger T's and C's apply. See energia.ie.
The Tile Style winter sale continues with a guaranteed 40% off all in-stock tiles, including porcelanosa. Huge savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood floors too. All in stock and ready for immediate dispatch. That's an incredible 40% off all in-stock tiles and guaranteed savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood floors. Don't miss out. Shop now while stocks last and save big at the Tile Style Winter Sale. In store at Ballymount or at tilestyle.ie.
Hi, I'm Ken Doherty, and when I need car insurance, I contact the specialists at insuremycars.ie. Their team always finds me the best policy at the lowest price and with all the benefits I need. If your car insurance is up for renewal, visit insuremycars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as insuremycars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Prioritise your health and well-being this new year with Harvey Norman. We have a huge range of connected health devices to help you stay motivated, manage your stress, track all your key health metrics, and reach this year's fitness goals. Add a beat to your step with the Garmin Forerunner 255 Music Smartwatch. Only $399. Or get the Apple Watch Ultra, designed for exploration, adventure, and endurance. Now $999. Harvey Norman, your connected health specialists.
Go! Whether it's in the cupboard, under the bed, or down the side of the couch, if you can find your smartphone, you can trade it in for an average of €130 at Vodafone, where we'll recycle and repurpose it. Good for your pocket and the planet. Search Vodafone Trade-In or visit your local Vodafone store to find out more. So, where's yours? Vodafone. Together we can.
Trade-in is subject to trading in an eligible device. Average trade-in value is €130. For full terms, see vodafone.ie/terms.
Dreaming of summer in France? Let Stena Line take you there on board Stena Vision or Stena Horizon. Unwind in our pure Nordic spa. Let the kids have fun in Happy World. Relax in your own private cabin or suite. And take your furry friends too in one of our pet-friendly cabins. With the most sailings between Roslin and Cherbourg, get set for summer in France. Book today with a €100 deposit at stenaline.ie.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
You're at the counter in your local shop. Birthday card in one hand, a pack of those teeny tiny candles in the other. Now for a present, only to look up and see the display of scratch cards. Talk about the best present ever if they win big. Birthday or no birthday, with millions in cash prizes to be won instantly, next time you're in store, ask for any all-cash scratch card. The National Lottery. It could be them. Gift responsibly.
Let me explain with Sean Defoe.
Did you know noise has colours? You've heard of white noise, but what about pink noise and brown noise? And did you know they can help you get to sleep? Find out how to kickstart that New Year sleep routine on the latest episode of Let Me Explain, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Listen live or listen back on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud. On 106 to 108 FM, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud, and smart speakers. This is News Talk. On 106 to 108 FM, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud, and smart speakers. This is News Talk.
4 o'clock, good afternoon. I'm Owen Murphy. 2 separate murder investigations have been launched in Dublin after the deaths of a man in Finglas and a woman in Ashtown. The first happened at a property at the Royal Canal Park in Ashtown yesterday morning, where a woman in her 40s was killed. Separately, a man in his 30s was killed at a house in Collins Place in Finglas yesterday evening. A man in his 50s has been arrested in relation to the Ashtown incident, while 2 men in their 30s were arrested in relation to the Finglas assault. Kieran Perry, Independent Councillor for Dublin, says there's a need for more Gardaí on the streets.
Visibility decreases crime very significantly, and that's a difficulty we have locally. We don't have enough
visibility. We don't have enough high-vis Gardaí on the streets.
There were calls for safe zones to be introduced around accommodation centres for asylum seekers and refugees. A series of anti-immigration events have been held across the country, with Garda Commissioner Drew Harris saying protesters have their own sinister agendas. Protests have recently had crowds outside the centres, with a sign at a protest in Dublin recently saying Irish lives matter. Caroline Reedy, Managing Director of the HR Suite, believes there's a line that shouldn't be crossed when it comes to protesting.
The difference between the right to protest and then threatening arson and intimidation and incitement to hatred, there's a big difference between people's right to protest and it going way too far.
Tusla was forced to provide protection for 728 unborn babies over fears of abuse or neglect. New figures show the Child and Family Agency placed 78 babies on the Child Protection Notification System in 2020, followed by 96 last year. Suzanne Connolly, the Chief Executive of Bernardo's, says the usual reason unborn babies are placed on this list is substance abuse by the mother.
When those parents do not have the capacity to care for the baby, when they're in addiction, or whether there's concerns about their ability as parents, it's really important that they are supported to receive the help they need.
Another cold snap is on the way, with temperatures set to drop from this evening onwards. Met Éireann is forecasting showers of hail, sleet and snow. 4:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Best present ever. Give them a Ryanair gift card and they'll love you forever.
Early tonight, the very strong gusty westerly winds will continue in Ulster and will ease somewhat overnight. Lows of 0 to +3 degrees with a touch of frost. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Spurs take on Arsenal on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through till 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember, Football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. The Premier League is back. Watch every live game for the rest of the season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball, listen across the country on your radio. On News Talk, also watch us on the Off the Ball digital and social channels on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. We're joined on the line by the former Republic of Ireland international David Meyler, and in studio by the football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. It is Brighton 0, Liverpool 0 in the Premier League, and also Everton 1, Southampton 0. These are half-time scores. The other games are goalless at half-time. Nottingham Forest, Leicester and Wolves, West Ham. And earlier on, Man United 2, Manchester City 1 in the Manchester derby. Marcus Rashford with the winner. Just some scores from elsewhere in the world of sport, and this is brilliant from Munster. 24-0 they lead Northampton in the Heineken Champions Cup. Gavin Coombs with a couple of tries, and also Jack O'Donoghue. So Munster set to win today, and that would probably pretty much put them through to the last 16. Leinster were 49-14 winners over Gloucester earlier. 7 tries for Leinster. They're absolutely killing it at the moment in terms of the rugby. Also, we have Gaelic games. Limerick into the McGrath Cup final. A draw was enough against Tipperary. Limerick 1-13, Tipperary 2-10. And also Westmeath 15 points, Antrim 13 in the Walsh Cup. In Leinster in hurling. In racing, Davy Russell back today at Ferry has no luck for Davy, though, in the 2 rides that he had, but great to see him back in the saddle. The big one was the Dan and Joan Moore Memorial Handicap Chase. Rebel Gold at 5-1 won that, but it was really a day for Paul Tannen and Willie Mullins. They had a couple of winners there on the Cardiff Ferry House.
Mentioned my friend my friend Paul Byrne, rather, his horse Mr. Incredible, running a blinder in one of the big races in England, saying he might have another national prospect. Paul, of course, sold the winner of the national last year, Noble Yates, and Mr. Incredible was a horse, JD, who had sort of almost down tools for his previous connections, but I think he went at the first in the Paddy Power, but they seem to have reignited his spark, and exciting times for Paul.
Go to Brighton. Goal for Brighton.
Goal for Brighton.
So, Liverpool have been a bit all over the place defensively in this game, and they've got some joy. Brighton down the right side, like Trent, Alexander-Arnold had a tough time, but this goal is Liverpool losing possession under major pressure in their own half. Actually, Evan Ferguson sort of involved in a press, but
he was heavily involved in.
Yeah. But Solly March has scored. He's onside, I think. Yeah, sort of 2-3 quick passes. Liverpool just sort of exposed from losing the ball, sort of 30 yards from goal, and Brighton strike quickly and now look to have a league goal, and I think it's deserved.
You normally have your TV on, Dave Meyler. I don't know if you saw that.
No, JD.
No, okay, but Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying before the break, wasn't it? Really, Liverpool is just the Brentford defeat was painful, and now it's happening again.
Do you see him? Do you see Klopp sticking it out? And JD mentioned the ownership situation as well, David. Do you see him sticking out what to me looks like it's probably a few years of a project here, maybe 2 or 3 years at least, just to kind of get them back to where they were?
Like JD obviously touched on it with the ownership. That's no excuse for the players. None of the players would even they wouldn't even know about that really. They wouldn't care about it. I think that would affect Jurgen. Because obviously we're in January now and he'd be looking for funds. And obviously this is why FSG are doing it. It certainly wouldn't, like, to answer your question, do I see Jurgen staying? Yes, I do. Like if you look at it, like where would he potentially go if he left Liverpool? He'd obviously take probably a break to recharge the batteries, but I think he only really goes to Germany or Real Madrid. I can't see him taking over Bayern Munich. So I could see him probably staying another 2-3 years.
Germany with the hosts of the Euros in 2024.
Hansi Flick is staying on.
So yeah, they'll have they're not going to face sort of a change in that period. So
Southampton have equalised by 1-1 against Everton. James Ward-Prowse.
So it could be. I mean, could it be after that? You know, you think of going to a World Cup in 2026
in
or
America,
something.
especially as well as
there's some kind of focus with that maybe.
Evan Ferguson was involved in Matip giving the ball away. It was actually the one thing that interests me about Ferguson is how quick is he? How quick is he off the block? How quick is he going to be when he's at his peak? Because I think that could bring him to maybe the next level. But there Matip, I mean, again, it wasn't massive pressure, but he put enough pressure on Matip to give the ball away, and Brighton scored. And this would make them overtake Liverpool in the table, I think.
Daniel Podence scored for Wolves 1-0 against West Ham. So Wolves 1, West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Leicester 0, Everton 1, Southampton 1, and Brighton 1, Liverpool 0 in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. 53106 for the text messages. Plenty coming in on cliches and phrases that annoy people in football, in my opinion and in my day. 100%. How about he opened up the body? He opened the body up. The mind boggles, says Aidan and Louth. Can we please take coordinated action on in a good moment? I hate the phrase all pundits use when describing another player. We've ran out of superlatives to describe such and such a player, says Niall.
Was the mind boggles a cliche sort of line?
No,
that was his own.
I think it was his own reaction.
So he added his own one, having had a go at one. I mean, come on, man.
That sort of sums up the paradox of the whole thing.
He's only got one left foot. Transfer war chest is another one.
The war chest is definitely one of those.
Yeah, but you never use.
Let's get the war chest out. Yeah.
On what Dave Meyler was saying on Thiago, 100% agree. Been saying it for weeks, as one of our texters. Another one, hi. Just in Liverpool in transition, even in Fergie's worst seasons in transition as United manager, he never finished outside the top 4, even with some really poor teams. Around 05-06.
I think that if you look at the top 4, JD, it's like.
So any argument about Klopp being a football genius are laughable. He's had 2 productive seasons and a lot of near misses. They're shambles at the moment. Should be 2 down. Well, they are 1 now. The famous Liverpool 1 in a row team is finished. That's very harsh.
He's done exceptionally well, I think, at Liverpool, but the top 4 for me with every passing week looks less likely.
We also have, I think the difference between this result and previous big wins for United under Ole is now we seem to have a plan and a system in place under Ten Hag. Even if we lose, there's still a momentum there and a target to get where we want to get to, says Joe in Ashtown. Ray and Mayo, a great show, thank you. If Arsenal win tomorrow, they'll go odds on to win the league. Does Johnny know the last time that happened?
I was actually wondering that coming in today. Not so much odds on, but would they be favourites if they win tomorrow? I guess they would be. When were Arsenal last odds on to win the league? I mean,
probably
I was in
maybe
college or something at that time.
The Invincibles year.
Yeah, that would be staggering.
Your so-called football pundits are useless. Listening to them since the start of the season, you never gave Man United a chance to look where we are now, 3rd. Well,
so he or she is listening to football pundits since the start of the season and thinks we're useless. Should probably do something else at this stage.
Well, we want people to continue to listen.
I mean, if you think we're useless, I mean, surely you've better things to be doing than listen to useless pundits for 2 hours every Saturday.
But even so, JD, to touch on that, find me anyone in the world who gave United any chance. Even like the ex-players, like I know he said ex-pundits, but ex-players who play for Manchester United didn't give United a whole lot. You know what I mean? So like, it's easy to say that.
After the game in the Etihad, they must have been 1 billion to 1.
But it's Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo is a massive thing here.
They're having a good day. They've won, but like
and the derby.
I'm not saying they're.
I hope they've been I hope they sent that message in 2 months ago saying, why aren't you talking about Manchester United's inevitable march to the top 4?
5-3-1-6. All of a sudden, it seems to me that it's not a 2-horse race anymore between City and Arsenal. You might have 5 or 6 teams in the mix. A very exciting season, says Aaron in Galway. The worst Chelsea team and manager in over 30 years is the results business. Need I say more, says Niall. David Meyler, is Graham Potter actually under pressure in your view now?
He has to be. When you manage one of the top 6 clubs.
Scored. Brighton has
Set
scored.
up by Evan Ferguson.
2-0.
A beautiful ball by Evan Ferguson, better than Erling Haaland.
Solly March again. What a result.
Sorry to interrupt you, David. I mean, we've had years of misery following Ireland. I'm just getting a bit excited.
To be clear, it was an assist from Evan Ferguson.
It's a great ball.
This is a great ball. This is a man who's saying this now, Johnny Ward, who was a Liverpool fanatic when he was young. Brighton 2, Liverpool 0. David Meyler.
It's a terrific finish.
It's a lovely ball.
Johnny has just completely lost control of his senses at this point.
Wait till tonight.
I can't even wrap my head around Liverpool losing 2-0. I know their record's not been good at Brighton, but it's just. Yeah. All right, we'll move on. We'll go back to Graham Potter. He's under pressure. When you manage one of the top clubs, if you're not winning football matches and you're not challenging certainly the top of the table, you're going to be under pressure. Now, certainly under Abramovich's tenure, look at the space. He'd be out the door by now. Now there's a 5-year contract. Obviously, when that was given to him, there must have been some long-term plan looked at. Because I think if you look at Graham Potter's time at Brighton, certainly how they developed younger players and how they brought them through. Now, how much Graham Potter had in hand in the recruitment, I don't know, because Brighton have always had good recruitment. But certainly he's going to be under pressure. And if he doesn't turn it around, then he might find himself without a job in the next
Sorry, David, you didn't see that there, but the space that Ferguson had is absolutely staggering. That Liverpool will be standing off so much. I mean, this is really, really headline stuff as it is for Liverpool if they were to lose this game as it is, because this has been so bad.
Johnny, you can't focus on anything else. He was talking about Graham Potter. But I mean, it's a great goal.
We just got to break away for the moment and change codes to rugby, because Aisling O'Reilly's down at Thomond Park for this Munster-Northampton game, and Munster really doing well. Let's get the latest matching.
Yes, John, it's half-time here in Thomond Park. It's Munster 24, Northampton Saints 0. After less than 2 minutes play, Joey Kirby got Munster up and running from a penalty in difficult kicking conditions. Munster starting the strongest here, taking control of the game from early on. It was Gavin Coombs who picked up their first try after 9 minutes thanks to a short tap penalty, and Kirby converted. Northampton picked up a yellow card with hooker Mike Haywood sin-binned, with the Saints struggling big time here, making a lot of mistakes. It was absolute class from Munster to get their second try of the game. Brilliant decision by Gavin Coombs to pass it off to Jack O'Donoghue, who got over the line for Munster to lead 20-0. After that super try for Munster, they quickly found themselves down to 14 men. After the try scorer Jack O'Donoghue was then red carded for a high tackle. Then the rain began to fall here in Thomond Park. Munster, they kept the pressure on, and Gavin Coombs, who has been brilliant in this first half, he barged over the line to get his second to make it 24-0. Northampton will be happy to hear the half-time whistle. It's Munster 24, Northampton Saints 0.
Okay, thank you so much, Aisling, for the moment, and good stuff from Munster today, and obviously Leinster winning 49-14, and Ulster playing La Rochelle at 5:30, and Connacht against Brive at the Sports Ground. So
yeah, we haven't really described the goal. It was just Johnny making involuntary noises. But Ferguson just dropped deep into space and he wasn't followed. And he received the ball. He was able to just turn, given loads of time to turn, plays a through ball to March. He was cut across with Andy Robertson following him from the left back position, the right wing. And he's hit an absolutely superb left foot. I mean, from the Irish point of view, we'll look at Ferguson being involved with the assist. I mean, he would expect to play the pass that, a player of his ability would expect to execute that pass, but he still was in the position to do it. But March's finish, left foot, far corner, it's a brilliant goal.
It's an impressive start for Roberto De Zerbi. It took a while, obviously, to get going, but to win 4-1 at Everton, and now they're 2-0 up against Liverpool in the Premier League. And if this result stays the way it does, it'll be, 26 points dropped from 18 Premier League games for Liverpool. I'm going to say something a bit crazy here. I get the sense Klopp will just quit and it'll be sudden.
I think so as well. And if you take away the Bournemouth game now, as of right now, if you take away the Bournemouth game, Liverpool's goal difference this season is +1. +1. That was a 9-0, nothing game. They're +1. And it's hard to overstate how much of a shambles they've been here watching it in the first 56 minutes. They need a goal, and then I do worry if they were to lose 3 or 4-0 here, how bad is it going to get for them?
Because the Brentford game was, when I watched that, it was just the hunger that Brentford had, especially in the second half of that game. And I just don't think they're easy solutions. And I do, obviously, the plates are shifting in terms of, obviously, City are always going to be up there because of the wealth they have. And
looks like Harvey Elliott's coming on, JD, might refresh things. I know David mentioned Thiago. I'm looking at Henderson recent games, and to me, he's given the ball away an awful lot. They look like they have a lot of issues.
53106. I love the show and the opinions. Thank you. Evan Ferguson looks a prospect, but let's not put too much pressure on him too early, says David, an Ireland season ticket holder. And another one, Evan is a place on earth. Guaranteed Euro 2024 semi-finalists, says Jared in Cork. I don't know if that's
Carlisle's first mention of the day.
Tongue in cheek, but Linda Carlisle.
It is a concern because every article almost has a prerequisite.
Look at your reaction.
I know,
to that goal.
But you've been starved.
Jumping up in the
literally
studio
since Robbie Keane, we haven't had really good striker. And for Evan Ferguson, let's just contextualise this. He's turned 18 in, I think, October, right? He scored a goal against Arsenal where he, showed extreme strength and, an ability to score against the best team in the Premier League. He's now 3 games later, he's scoring, he's assisting, he's starting against Liverpool, looks totally at home, and he's not fully developed yet. And we've been starved of anything to talk about. And I think the line that I took from that piece I mentioned last week, I think it was Keith Long who said it, or one of the boys at Kevin said, if Evan Ferguson could train every minute of the day, he'd do it. And that's what he's obviously a little bit different in terms of his attitude.
Liverpool on the road to losing 4 out of their last 8 Premier League games, 2-0 down to Brighton at the Amex. We have text in here on 53106. On football, annoying phrases, cliches. The worst cliche of all because of how mind-numbingly obvious it is as goals win matches, says Caroline. He's lost a lot of pace, says Oliver. Fixtures coming thick and fast, definitely the most overused phrase at Christmas, and also the one that's really taken off recently is the low block, says James in Cork, which is very annoying. Isn't the mid block, the low block, the foot race, all those annoying things. It's worth noting that after this loss, Liverpool will only be 3 points ahead of Chelsea. Clearly, Klopp can't be compared to Potter, but the two teams' records are comparably bad, says Aaron.
So Evan Ferguson is in a battle with Konate there, which is, as Dan says, could we see this? He holds him off really well, sets up a good chances for Lallana, Dan, playing against his old team. It's good strength by Ferguson here. He's 18 years of age. It's hard not to be excited.
Well, I mean, it's clear that you are. Every Ferguson touch now has been analysed with sort of...
Evan is a place on earth, Dan.
Yeah, it's just... I mean,
how many Evan Ferguson mentions? Like, at the do tonight now, like, they'd be like, just shut up about Evan Ferguson.
That's exactly what I'll be saying.
Maybe you're getting it all out of the way before.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to talk about, climate change now.
But oh, God.
David Meyler, will you say something, put us out of our misery here, sit beside Johnny?
It's not the first time, Johnny, I've seen you get super hyped up over a young Irish player.
Well, Nathan Collins had us all thinking that way as well.
Aaron Connolly, you were definitely on the Aaron Connolly.
Not sure.
Okay, well,
you had a man from the West.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There was several references to his county allegiances, and you were very much caught up in that one too. I mean, although, and I think David sort of touched on it earlier, I think the Ferguson-Connolly comparison is a very obvious one to make. They're two completely different characters. I said I don't think Evan Ferguson's going to have any issues with attitude. So it is exciting, and there's a balance, right? It's good to be excited and to have a really positive Irish good news story to get on board with, but it also has to be tempered that the more you build up that... it's very possible he could play against France in March and struggle, and then suddenly there can't be a massive deflation then. Do you know what I mean? But so that's where you're sort of thinking, well, hang on, he's in a Brighton team here where they're a good side, they have a very sort of developed style of play, he knows his role within that system. Ireland's games this year are quite likely to be counter-attacking games, and it'd be a different type of test. So I think it's great to be excited, but to build that up for people to think that suddenly he's going to transform things overnight, I don't think that's fair enough. Yeah, but it's
transform things overnight.
But I think it's good to be excited. But every time he touches the ball and does something half decent, we don't have to jump off our seats and suggest that we're watching Messi at the World Cup here. It's
well, we didn't all have that. Thinly veiled eyes in Qatar.
I just feel like every touch has been.
I'm excited about the day that's in it. We've watched 2 fascinating Premier League games. We're going to the awards night, the 3 of us together as a trio. What's not to like?
Who's the third wheel?
Me.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I think you're going to take over, JD. You've a lot of...
Don Duggan comes out.
Sorry, who?
You've heard this.
Yeah, but the listeners haven't.
Yeah, well,
Don Duggan is like your...
my alter ego.
Okay.
Kind of guy
I'm not really sure how to follow that up.
Just guy who hangs off chandeliers. So when he's having a good time.
Oh, Carberry.
Helena Byrne being in touch, acknowledged the difference in the type of phrases used to describe football played by men and women. I've done a bit of research into this. You can find countless lists online and books about men's football, but not women's. So I did a small survey. So that's on Twitter, Helena. So thanks for your message. And I think a lot of the kind of the annoying thing that about women's football people find is like being described as boring. So thanks for getting in touch. 53106. We have Johnny, thank goodness you now. Ferguson to mention said a Bazunu. Regardless, the future looks good for the Ireland squad. Great show, says Dave.
I Bazunu thing for a while, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Dave, I mean, you might as well get excited about things though. When you've nothing to eat, you might as well be happy with crumbs.
You see why Johnny has so many old flames, because he just sort of falls in love very easily.
Lads, Liverpool gets so much chat on the show each Saturday. 1 in a row Premier League titles after being branded the best team in the Premier League era by many in the media. Yes, won a Champions League and few cups without scoring a goal in them. Overhyped, not a patch in Chelsea, City, United or Arsenal teams of the Premier League era too, says Ryan in Dublin 15. Well, Ryan, what I'll say is Liverpool the biggest supporter club in this country in my view, and I've been doing this thing a long time. Liverpool, United, the biggest two clubs in this country.
Who's the biggest supporter club?
I think Liverpool.
That'd be an interesting one.
I think Liverpool, then United, and I think then probably like Celtic, Arsenal, and then obviously we're getting into the Shamrock Rovers, Dundalk.
Big shout out. No, John, even there. No, Leeds are massively supporting Ireland.
Of a certain age, David. Yeah.
No, do you know what? I've gone to a couple of Leeds games, and the amount of Irish people I meet there, I'm fascinated.
There's maybe a tier just below Liverpool United, which is Leeds, West Ham, Spurs, Everton in it, I would say.
Yeah, they don't have as many sort of floating. I think the Leeds fans, a lot of them are really into it, if you know what I mean, as opposed to you will have the more sort of casual Liverpool and Manchester United fans who, the weekend wouldn't be ruined by a result, if you know what I mean.
There's an interesting moment here, JD. We've 63 minutes gone. Every Liverpool player is in his own half. Every Liverpool player is in his own half. Salah's running around. The press is poor. Oh my God, this is just... Trent Alexander-Arnold's attempt at a tackle there is just embarrassing. There's a malaise there.
We have another one on phrases. He got purchased on that. What does that mean? And also, lads, Liverpool gets so much chat on a show. We did that. And are you all Chelsea owners all of a sudden, lads? Klopp took Liverpool to within the very last minute of winning all 4 competitions last year. Plagued with injuries and way behind even Nottingham Forest and West Ham. And the money splashing stakes this year. Give the man a break. Football's a funny old game, as the cliche goes. Things will change again fairly soon. Love the show, though. Keep it up, says Finn and Navin. Nice text. Thanks so much, Finn.
I don't think anyone's suggesting, though, that he's going to get the bullet, or he should get the bullet anyway. But it's more that he might a bit of slack. He might walk. Yeah, I don't think he's going to come under ever that kind of pressure, as far as I can see anyway. Maybe I could be wrong.
Klopp and the Liverpool transfer committee need to take some responsibility for not investing in new midfield players with a younger age profile, apart from Thiago, who is in his early 30s. They haven't bought players who can play a Klopp style of football. Who do you think they should buy, lads? David Meyler, any suggestions on who they should buy?
Bellingham.
Yeah.
What is that tackle? Trent Alexander-Arnold has just gotten a yellow card for a tackle on Ferguson that he's basically over the sideline and he just looks like his head is gone.
Yeah. You saw a bit of Bellingham at the World Cup?
Yeah, he's very impressive, yeah. And just listening to people who are around the England...
Ferguson's just gone off the latest update there. Sorry to interrupt you then.
There we go. Thank God.
I have to mute you now if you keep on going with this.
Yeah, but a few minutes is going to be like, he looks to be taking a drink of water on the bench, as we can see.
He's sitting down there.
Yeah, he's sitting there. Look at him there. But Bellingham, speaking of impressive young footballers, listen to people around the England camp, they seem to think again, attitude isn't the problem, and that he's going, that the ability that's there it's not going to be lost in sort of the trappings that can sometimes come with it, and particularly as a high profile England international. I suppose his career path in itself would suggest he's sort of the people around him are sort of plotting a course, but yeah, as a midfielder he looks to have a bit of everything. He can play in all the midfield positions really within different structures and systems, so you would think any club with sort of a war chest, to use one of our phrases, get the war chest out, and go after Bellingham.
Nottingham Forest 1, Leicester 0. Steve Cooper doing a good job of turning Forest around, and Brennan Johnson has scored. You'd have to think that Brendan Rodgers, like how long is it going to last at Leicester? It just seems to be like on the drift. Wolves 1, West Ham 0. Still Everton 1, Southampton 1 at Goodison Park, and Brighton 2, Liverpool 0, which we're watching at the moment, folks out there. Man United 2, Manchester City 1, a result from earlier on. Brentford Bournemouth has a 5:30 start. Just before we go to the break, championship scores: Rotherham 4, Blackburn 0 is a result. Bristol City 3, Birmingham 1. Latest score, it is Burnley 0, Coventry 0, Cardiff 0, Wigan 0. Hull 0, Huddersfield Town 1. It is Luton 2, West Brom 2 now. Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 0. It is Preston 0, Norwich 3. Reading 2, QPR 0. Sheffield United lead Stoke by 2-1. Sunderland down to 10 men, 1-1 against Swansea. And Watford 0, Blackpool 0. In Scotland, Hibernian 1, Dundee United 2. Motherwell 1, Ross County 0. St Johnstone 2, Livingston 3.
Yeah, Jason Malumbi scored for West Brom against Luton today. So Conor Hourhan has scored as well for Derby in League One. So a lot of Irish goals today. It is our year.
Great stuff. Munster 24, Northampton 0. So Munster on the road to the bonus point in the rugby down at Thomond Park. Leinster won 49-14 earlier on in the Heineken Champions Cup. We're back after this on Football Saturday, all the way until 5.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Catch Newcastle versus Fulham tomorrow on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk. Who is the next News Talk Business Person of the Month? Well, that's up to you to decide. Joe Lynham will host a monthly feature on Breakfast Business, which will profile some of the finest business leaders and innovators in Ireland. Each month, the winner will be welcomed on air for an interview and profile of their career to date. Think that they have what it takes? Or maybe you feel you're the one? Then all you have to do is nominate by going to newstalk.com/nominate. The News Talk Business Person of the Month.
With Evershed Sutherland, Ireland's most established and largest global law firm.
On News Talk.
Pathetic.
Come on, love. Let's go in here.
Is this hide and seek? Okay. 1.
It's harder than ever to hide from domestic violence. That's why all frontline services and helplines are still answering calls and providing support. If you're in immediate danger, call 112 or 999.
I know you're both in there! I'm going nowhere!
If your home isn't safe, support is still here. Go to stillhere.ie for a list of supports, an initiative of the Government of Ireland with frontline services in your community.
If you're about to use an electrical appliance, like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy, just ask the question, is this a good time?
Yeah, it's fairly breezy out. You're good to go.
If it's windy out, it is a good time, because wind generates renewable energy, which Ireland will be relying on more and more. To find out the best times for your electricity usage, sign up to our pilot at esbnetworks.ie/pilot.
Deep breaths, everyone. There's still time to save the day. With great value home cover from Super Value Insurance. You'll get 15% off online and shopping vouchers with every policy. That's a great deal for the cover you need anyway. All it takes is one big click or call. Just visit supervalue.ie/insurance or call 0818 010101 and our team will save the day without the drama. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers include 2 €10 off, €40 spend. Home contents only. Policies excluded. This home insurance is underwritten by AXA Insurance DAC. SuperValue Financial Services DAC. Trading in SuperValue Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Make your 2023 memorable with Emirates. Fly better to stunning Indian Ocean islands like Mauritius and Maldives, or explore Thailand, Bali, and more incredible sun-soaked destinations. Start your holiday on board with delicious regional cuisine and be spoiled for choice with thousands of movies, TV shows, music, and more. Relax in space and comfort all the way to your next unforgettable destination. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
If you're looking for beautiful Irish-made sofas or chairs, the Finline Furniture annual sale is now on. All Finline's furniture comes with our unique 20-year guarantee. Showrooms open in Dublin, Cork, Galway and at our factory in County Laois. Finline have only one sale every year, so don't miss out. See finlinefurniture.ie.
Want an amazing deal from Virgin Mobile? Get unlimited data, calls and texts and enjoy 99.7% coverage across Ireland.
All for just €5 a month for 6 months. Switch in-store or at virginmobile.ie. Virgin Mobile. Bring on amazing.
SIM-only contract, €25 a month after offer. Cancel anytime on 30 days' notice. Ends February 15th, 2023. For details, T's and C's and acceptable usage policy, see virginmobile.ie.
A new year, a new chance to treat yourself and get away from it all with Go Breaks. Choose from hundreds of incredible hotel deals at gobreaks.ie.
Go Breaks. Get your job done for less at Screwfix. We've cut prices to help you save this winter. Like over 25% off the Arabella screwdriver bit set, now just $8.95. And save €40 on the Myra Atom Shower, now only $139.95. Shop now online at screwfix.ie or in store. Screwfix, the choice of champions. While stocks last, prices valid until the 5th of February. Visit screwfix.ie for T's and C's, delivery charges and restrictions.
Order. There's a lot to be said for it. Not the restrictive, always play by the book, straight down the line kind of order, but the order you place for a brand new 231 Audi. An order best placed having experienced true progress with a test drive at your Audi dealer, where you will also get advice on the options available to ensure owning your 231 Audi is as straightforward as possible, which is proper order. Visit your nearest Audi dealer, where future is an attitude.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Spurs take on Arsenal on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you as always until 5. I just want to tell you about a brilliant charity event that's happening at Rascals Brewing Company in Inchicore in Dublin on Wednesday, January the 18th. That's next Wednesday. It's called Manawsome, celebrating the success of Irish women in sport. It's all to raise money for Women's Aid. It'll feature an array of brilliant speakers, including the World Cup bound Republic of Ireland defender Louise Quinn, Irish hockey legend Roisin Upton, former MMA champion Aisling Daly, and lots more. It'll be all hosted by our own Aisling O'Reilly. Tickets are just €20. All proceeds going directly to Women's Aid. Go to rascalsbrewing.com to get your tickets now. Munster lead Northampton 24-7 in the Champions Cup, Heineken Champions Cup. We also have goals going in everywhere around England's finest leagues. Brighton 2, Liverpool 0, as we've been discussing. Solly Marsh with both goals. Everton 1, Southampton 1. Nottingham Forest 1, Leicester 0, and Wolves 1, West Ham 0. All latest scores in the Premier League, where Man United beat Man City 2-1 earlier on. And in the Championship, we have Norwich 4-0 up now against Preston. That's the latest goal that's gone in there. David Meyler is with us on the line with Dan McDonnell here from the Irish Independent in studio, along with Johnny Ward. 53106 for text messages. Football cliches referring to the football match rather than the match, says Brian. Hi JD, you got to forgive Johnny for his Evan Ferguson enthusiasm after being without a top-class striker for Ireland for many years. It's only natural to be excited by a potential great goal scorer for the country. Great show. Up the west, Johnny, says Tom in Sligo.
Thanks, Tom. And yeah, it's good that I mean, of course I'm getting carried away, but isn't that the whole point of things at times, you know? When I
suppose we all some of us have to remain calm in studio.
Yeah, best of luck to his beloved Rovers this season in what's going to be a challenging, I think, Premier Division for Sligo and some of those teams under the top 4.
Well said. As a United fan, my biggest worry is the club won't be sold before the summer transfer windows. Obviously the Glazers won't spend a penny anymore as they want out. I think the analysis has been overall very good throughout the year. My only complaint would be that Arsenal's tilt at the title was not taken seriously earlier in the season, as the focus tends to be always on Liverpool, Man United. I'm saying this as someone who would back them in July of this year, so put my money where my mouth is. North London Derby, David Meyler tomorrow, live here in News Talk and Off the Ball. Tottenham Arsenal 4:30 kickoff. What should Mikel Arteta's approach be in your view?
Oh, well, I think they have to go and win the game.
Yeah.
It can't be. I know that's almost a cliche in a way, like that, you know, you're going to play, but I think they have to really be on the front foot. Arsenal have been incredible all season, and even though that text in there kind of said like he would have backed them since July, I think it'd be very difficult. Obviously, they made some important signings with Jesus and Zinchenko, which have kind of almost changed the mentality of the squad of players, that they're bringing in these lads who've won Premier League titles. But Arteta has to get them on the front foot. Tottenham have been so up and down, more down with Conte recently. I imagine you'll be able to touch a light more on that, but Arsenal have to be on the front foot. This opportunity to go 8 points clear of City in second is enormous. Like you're talking then, right, that would be 18 games played in the season. Like that's a 3-game swing, which is huge. And then it just gives Arsenal the momentum to kind of kick on from there. And of course, with it being a North London rivalry, it also gives that group of players an extra belief that they can go on and achieve incredible success.
The squad to win the title, in your view, David? They have a strong enough squad?
I like their 11. I've been very impressed with, say, the front players. The biggest question mark with Arsenal has always been their depth. I think 1 to 11, that it kind of picks itself almost.
Yeah.
But then the question marks have been when Jesus got injured. Now Nketiah he's been excellent since he's come in for him, but can he maintain that for the next 4 or 5 months when called upon? That's a massive question mark. Like there's been talks of various different players being linked.
Mudryk, yeah.
Yeah. Why hasn't that happened? There's talks now of the Chelsea hierarchy flying to Poland to go, sort that deal out because Chelsea are going to sign him. Have Arsenal changed their mind? I don't know. But the squad depth has always been the issue. 1 to 11, I think they have the players and they have the capabilities. We've seen, in performances in games recently where they've looked like they can go on and win the title.
4 goals in his last 4 games, Eddie Nketiah. Harry Kane is now, 1 behind Jimmy Greaves' record. He's on 265 Spurs goals. Do you think he'll be motivated to stay? I suppose it depends what happens at Spurs with the Qatar money. If that comes in, they're talking potentially about a 25% investment in the club if that did come to pass. He's on 198 Premier League goals. The record is 260, Alan Shearer's record. Are trophies far more important than breaking all these records? Is that an obvious thing to say? Because Kane really seems to relish the pursuit of records.
I think when you narrow it down, what would you prefer, medals or records? Obviously, you would love to tie them both together, but I'd certainly be in the camp of I'd prefer medals than records. Like, there's no doubt he's going to break Jimmy Greaves' record this season. Will he break Alan Shearer's? I think he will. Certainly, what is he now? 29. You're looking at 62 goals. Harry Kane is more than capable of scoring 20 plus over the next 3 seasons. So I think he will break them, but unfortunately, I think that ship has sailed now. I think he had to get out when the big hoorah came about, but obviously, Spurs stood their ground. Will Conte get the investment? Will he stick around? Will Harry Kane win trophies at Spurs? I can't really see it, and I can't see him going and creating a big fuss to get out. So I think he will see his days out at Spurs, and unfortunately, I don't think he'll come up with any trophies.
Do you think then it's maybe too late for a Bayern or a United to come in for him? I know his contract is 18 months to go in it, but is he almost at a stage now where a club is looking at it and going, maybe he's a bit past it in terms of what we'd be looking for a 2 to 3 year project?
No, I don't, because I think the one thing with Harry Kane is he guarantees you goals. Certainly with even now, with the assists, inevitably, I think he's perfect for United. I know they've signed Weghorst, but can you imagine that United team if they were to slot Harry Kane as their number 9? That's kind of the missing piece for them. But 18 months in your contract, he is loved and adored by Tottenham fans, and I think I can't see him. I could see him signing a new contract. They'll obviously break the bank. You're talking there about the Qatar investment maybe coming in. I think they'll break the bank and pay him whatever he wants, and they'll keep him. I don't think he'll go down that road of kicking off the fuss or leaving on a free transfer. Would he go to Germany? I don't think he would. I think he's got eyes on that Alan Shearer record, because I think if you look further down the road, he's going to end, live his life out in the UK, in London. So that I think he'll want to have that record and knowing that it's going to be a very long time before someone breaks it.
What about a former Spurs man, Gareth Bale, retired this week, David Meyler? Some career, wasn't it?
What a player.
Did you play against him?
Yeah, loads of times. Obviously not at Real Madrid, but obviously our games, Ireland v Wales, and then when he was at Tottenham. Exceptional player. You look at what he did for Spurs, certainly in that Champions League run. Even the times when he was producing moments of magic, the goals against West Ham. I know there's kind of been a reel of them on recently, but then when you go to Real Madrid,
Brighton have scored again, 3-0 against Liverpool. This is an unbelievable result from the Amex Stadium, and it is Danny Welbeck off the bench to get the third.
More subdued reaction there from Johnny.
Evan Ferguson's
replacement scores. All of a sudden, he's not that animated. Jurgen Klopp isn't animated either. He's just standing there looking.
This feels like a bigger result than the scoreline.
Yeah, I agree with you, JD. Yeah, I think the elements of Liverpool's performance has been so bad.
Just a throw. I mean, it's just a throw in with a simple flick into the box by March. I mean, you'd watch that and you'd just say players are mentally.
He split Konate
mentally not at it. Yeah,
and Gomez there.
It's a lovely goal, to be fair, by Welbeck.
It's a lovely goal for Brighton, but for a top class sort of elite team to concede sort of from the second ball from a throw in, that would suggest they're not at it.
Go on, David.
Can I just jump in there? Johnny, you didn't give Evan enough credit for that pass, the assist. Like you like, even though you were big at Evan up, that pass is a very, very difficult pass. If that was De Bruyne, that would be shown
hugely at the time. I was like, "That's a great pass." Did I not?
You didn't. You kind of played it down a bit, saying that players of quality. That's not the weight, the distance of that pass, and the weight he needs to put on that, so that Solly March doesn't have to break his stride.
Yeah,
that's an exceptional pass.
I'm trying to manage expectation, David. I mean, this is it. I mean, you're all getting a bit over.
I'll pick that up because I saw a clip of it there. I don't have the game on.
You're lucky you don't. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, oh my God, like this is right up there with Atlanta.
It's horrific.
Oh, with Napoli rather.
Lads thought Arsenal's signing Mudryk, just asking the question, and possibly winning the Premier League would come a long way since Arteta has come in, says Stuart. Yeah, absolutely. And if Arsenal go for it tomorrow, I think Odegaard has been key for them. If they go for it, they can. Like, Spurs are defensively very shaky. They only got one proper defender in Romero, and the goalkeeper is shaky.
Fascinating game, JD. I mean,
but Spurs,
what's going on?
To be fair to them, in that second half against Palace, they did show a bit more. What are David's thoughts on Boubacar Kamara at Villa? It looks like a Rolls Royce of a player. Unreal business to get him on a free. One of the few things TVG got right, says Rory and Kilcock. I don't know if you saw the Villa Leeds game last night, David, but I think Leeds will be okay. Jesse Marsh, I think they were unlucky. They got Nanto, has been really, really impressive since he's come into the team, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been excellent. I think, what is he, 18, 19?
19, yeah.
Yeah, like, he just looked a constant threat. Like, every time, he was kind of almost one of those players that, you pay to go and watch. There's another cliche for you. He just, every time he got the ball, he looked lively. There was step overs, he was coming inside, he looked to be creative. Like, my big thing with Leeds, like, looking on that, the base of that performance, like, they were clearly dominant for large periods of it. Aston Villa had two kind of sucker punches. The first goal comes off the corner. The second one is, the way that goes in. But, like, who's going to get the goals? Is Rodrigo or Bamford going to score enough goals to keep them up? Because I think they'll score goals. Will they get double digits? I don't know. But certainly, Jesse Marsh needs to find a way to stop conceding and start getting lads to contribute. Harrison had, a couple of great moments. There would be a slight concern with them if they start scoring goals. Then I could see them staying up. But certainly last night, they've great energy. They press really well. They look well organised. It's just those moments that they ended up getting punished and they concede, and that will cost them in the long run if they don't sort that out.
It's amazing. They've had one shot on target in this game, JD, after 85 minutes.
Ooh, Forest have scored again. If you're another Irish fans of Forest as well, the second goal. Brennan Johnson with the second goal of the game. They're up to 13th in the live table.
It's mad, yeah.
Southampton have scored at Goodison Park 2-1. They lead Everton now. James Ward-Prowse with the second goal of the game. So the bottom club at the start of the day, and Frank Lampard, Everton. Whoa.
Some week for Nathan Jones after the way things are looking there, how things swing. I mean, Forest, yeah. Like, you think how Forest, they come up. I know they did loads of loan players last year, but they've changed their squad almost completely. Spent a load of money. You think this can't work. But it's a bit like the Newcastle thing. It shows if you spend enough money and you have a good manager, you can make it work. And it's just like the way Forest have done it is like all that's wrong with football in a way. Like, it's nothing stable about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, we're here now, so let's just do what we can to stay here. But it is effective, and that's what leads to other people just doing the same thing.
Andy Lyons Blackpool, of course, last week.
Just on Bale, I know we kind of interrupted your point there, but it was like he did an amazing shot on him, didn't he, David Meyler? And also, like, great physique and great, like, a surging type of player. Would you have marked him? I know you played against him. Would you have encountered him on the pitch much?
Yeah, remember the we drew at home in the Aviva. I'm trying to think, would it be before the qualification for the World Cup in 18? I think it would be the home game. We drew at home. That night, just when he picks up the ball, the power, the pace, the speed, and he takes off. You have to bring him down. It's just that infamous goal he scored for Real Madrid against Barcelona. He took off down the left wing. It was just that kind of stuff. It's unbelievable. He was an exceptional player. Obviously, he had a couple of bad muscle injuries, and then I think things turned incredibly sour. But even though it was actually really interesting to see Real Madrid's statement after Bale had retired. It was actually really touching to read it, because it had gone so sour for someone who had been so successful for them. He scored in big games, in big semi-finals, finals. The list of honours he won is remarkable. And I think that the biggest thing was he's probably in that bracket below Ronaldo and Messi. He didn't have the longevity those two did, but certainly he was knocking on the door as one of the probably third, fourth, fifth best players in the world for a long time.
It's probably a conversation, lads, for another day in a more in-depth level. But Roy Barrett is leaving as FAI chairperson, and just kind of quotes from a briefing he did yesterday. Just on funding, so over 60% of the betting levy is in prize money for a sport. This is horse and greyhound racing, which let's just say isn't growing, and some could argue is in decline. Then if there's a 1.5 billion of betting levies being raised, well, what are they raised on? You take the UK Gambling Commission, they did a survey in bets from 2017 to 2020. 60% of bets are on football. Now maybe you can argue there's a local difference in Ireland and say 40% are on football. Why should 40% of the bets and levies that are applied that go exclusively to horse racing and greyhound racing? I just cannot get my head around that. Do I think football, given all the benefits that accrue from it, should receive equal funding as greyhound racing and horse racing? Yes, I do. Do I think betting tax levy going exclusively to those two sports is right? No, I don't. And he also added, since 2000 we can argue whether it's right or wrong, but the fact is the GA have got €430 million in government grants. Football has got 118 million. Rugby has got 57 million. So any views on his parting comments as FAI?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're parting comments, although I think he'll be around for a while longer. Yeah. And I mean, we probably should come back to it. It is a very significant departure that he's leaving. I think it's a loss. We'll have spoken about it a bit during the week. And I mean, I wouldn't say Stephen Kenny's too chuffed about it, but we'll probably come back to that. The broader point is something that I think Roy Barrett has spoken about before. You hear people in football rightly, I think, talk about the need for state investment and funding to get to where we want to be. But naturally, we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and there's obviously a lot of strain on the sort of the exchequer in a lot of ways. But hence, that's why to have actual sort of an example of, okay, here's a way that it can be done. Here's an avenue where other sports receive huge state investment. Sports who face their challenges, have had their issues, particularly the greyhound industry in recent years. And I think Johnny might have more to say about some of the technicalities of the practicalities maybe of it. I think it's hard to argue with the general idea behind it, particularly when and this, we all here like a bet and would talk about stuff in that context, but it's clear that there's probably going to be more of a squeeze coming on betting companies in a lot of ways around advertising and various things, and to be seen to sort of accrue some benefit from that it goes towards sport and the benefit that brings. I can see why there's a plausible case to be made, a business case to be made to think maybe this is a way to do it, because we know the game in this country needs funding. How often are we going to have discussions that come back to that conclusion? And this is an avenue I think is a very legitimate one to pursue.
Yeah, he's talking about increasing the levy, the 2% levy to 3%. That would be very problematic. I mean, that's a 50% increase, and that would...
Is the share, though, wrong?
100%. I mean, I've worked for HRI, I've worked for the Irish Greyhound Board, and it's completely anachronistic that the money from gambling is going to... I mean, how many people bet on the Dogs versus how many people bet on football? I mean, if an industry is so desperately in need of government injection year after year, maybe then you have to look at the industry. Now, I think the money that goes into racing in Ireland, I think in terms of what it does to rural Ireland, I think it really does help. But say the League of Ireland prize money is an absolute joke. The government, give or take, pays for 50% of all prize money for Irish racing. So you can imagine that the equivalent of that in football, like the League of Ireland champions will be getting really, really good money. And I'm not saying that should happen, but anyone who in racing, people in racing have this completely kind of like, you can't see the wood from the trees attitude that everything is fine. There is no way whatsoever a fella who places 20 quid on Brighton beating Liverpool today, or 20 quid on Liverpool beating Brighton, that some of that money should go into the winner at Shelbourne Park. Absolutely not. It should be going into football. I mean, anyone who disagrees with that, I think, really is completely barking up the wrong tree. Cliche there, but this really needs to be looked at, because Irish football, we're the most participation sport in this country, and we're criminally underfunded. I think we've never had friends in government, and I do think that since the likes of Niall Quinn came in and kind of had a role and started mooting this, I think there is a bit of a sea change now, and I think Roy Barrett has, as much as I don't necessarily agree with everything he said, I think it was very, very timely, and there's no way football should be left behind as it has been.
Big boots to fill?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think again, like Roy Barrett's sort of very influential member of the board and came in at a difficult time. I mean, I suppose there's a gender balance issue that needed to be addressed. And again, I think maybe whenever his replacements come in, we can maybe talk about that in a little bit more detail. But they are, in short, they are.
David Meyler, just before we go, like Liverpool are going to lose here. They're 3-0 down. The Brentford defeat was a tough defeat as well, a 3-1 defeat. So that's 6 goals conceded and 1 scored in their last 2 matches away from home. What does Klopp do here? Because and he was going to barking at a journalist yesterday at the press conference. He isn't in the best of form. Is this just something they have to just ride through?
It is, and they're going through an extremely difficult period where they've always been able to produce results. Even when they've not played well, but at the moment when they're not playing well, they're getting punished, and they're getting punished heavily. As you said, they've conceded 6 goals. When was the last time Liverpool conceded 6 goals in back-to-back games? It's extremely tough. I'm
over, by the way.
Happy.
It's full time now. Brighton 3.
I'm happy I'm not watching.
Okay.
It's one of those, but he needs to pick the group up, and even. I think Jurgen needs to look at himself, and the players need to look at themselves, and they need to kind of sit down and clear the air, because it's not acceptable and it's not been good enough. And they have the squad, and they have the players, and the players have the ability, and there's no doubting he's one of the best managers in the world, but he needs to pick this group up. They need to start winning football matches.
Got to leave it there. Dave Meyler, great to speak to you as always. Thank you.
Cheers, gents.
See you, David.
Johnny and Dan, thanks so much. And we'll be in one piece by tomorrow. We can guarantee the listeners
that far.
So just let you know in terms of what's going on football wise, Brighton 3, Liverpool 0 is a result now from the Premier League. Everton are going to lose again, 2-1 down to Southampton unless they can score a late goal. That's an injury time. Nottingham Forest 2, Leicester 0, Wolves 1, West Ham 0. These are all latest scores. Brentford and Bournemouth kick off at 5:30. Man United 2, Manchester City 1, a result from earlier in the Championship. Finished Rotherham 4, Blackburn 0. Latest scores: Bristol City 4, Birmingham 2, Burnley 1, Coventry 0, Cardiff 1, Wigan 0, Hull 0, Huddersfield 1, Luton 2, West Brom 3, Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 0. It has ended Norwich 4-0 winners at Preston. Reading 2, QPR 2, a latest score. Latest score: Sheffield United 3, Stoke 1, Sunderland 1, Swansea 3, and Watford 2, Blackpool 0.
Yeah, Callum O'Dowda with the goal for Cardiff against Wigan, and I should have mentioned Mark Sykes scored twice for Bristol City. So there's actually a lot of Irish goals in the Championship today.
Thanks, Dan. Dundee United 2-1 up against Hibs late on. Motherwell 1, Ross County 1 is a full time, and St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4 is a full time. Munster 24, Northampton 17 is the latest. Thanks so much for listening this afternoon, folks. We've got to leave it there. Don't forget, Off the Ball back tomorrow 1 to 7. Joe Molloy here in News Talk. We're going to showcase 2 live and exclusive commentary games in the Premier League. First up, Chelsea versus Crystal Palace in Stamford Bridge. Nathan Murphy and Brian Kerr, then Stephen Doyle and Kenny Cunningham describing the North London derby between Tottenham and Arsenal, all on your FM radio. There's also the Sunday pay-per-view across our digital and social channels from 11:30 with Tommy Martian and Dion Fanning. Be sure to join us tomorrow for some great commentaries and conversation here on News Talk. If you missed any of OTB Football Saturday with David Meyler, Dan and Johnny, you can find the podcast of the show on the OTB Sports app, or be sure to listen back, folks, wherever you get your pods. Thank you so much for listening across the country here in your radio today. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he out of space. He'll give you a move with godly grace. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. It's a nice young man. It's a lovely